بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أعاذنا الله تعالى جميعا من نار جهنم ومن شدتها. There was a poll recently conducted here in the UK where 1,000 students from the Muslim community who were studying in different levels in different universities here in the UK. They were asked a number of questions, and the reason behind the poll was so the people who conducted the poll for the government would get an idea as to whether or not the next generation of young Muslims are geared towards extremism and radicalism, or because they're being educated in institutions of higher learning, are they going to be a little bit more tolerant, moderate, and liberal? They put a number of questions to these kids, and the answers of the questions were shocking. Things that some of your mothers and fathers, grandmothers and fathers who can't read and write, where we come from, countries where many of us originate, some of our grandfathers, grandmothers, maybe our mothers and fathers, they could not read and they couldn't write. But they knew enough to answer some of the responses of these questions correctly. So if things continue to go on the course that they're going right now, then Islam here in this country, Islam in Europe, in America, the future of Islam is in trouble. The community is in trouble. Yarhamakullah. From those questions is this issue that's going on right now on social media. It's something that the Muslims should know hands down, and that is a very bad magazine. I don't know, I'm a bit reluctant to even mention the magazine because it's known for nudity and selling nudity for a long time. It's one of those popular magazines, starts with a P. They wanted to acknowledge the accomplishments of a Muslim sister, a young sister, and she wears hijab. So they wanted to recognize and to acknowledge her efforts in the field of media where she excelled. She doesn't wear the proper hijab, and I'm not here to judge her, nor am I here to put her on blast, but I'm telling you the reality of the situation. She has something on her head, and that's called the khimar. It's called the hijab to some of these people, even to many Muslims. So the issue was, is it permissible for the Muslim girl to go and to accept the award from that magazine? A Muslim with common sense, a Muslim with any basic knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah, a Muslim with his intellect has been unaltered. We know that the answer to that is it's impermissible for the Muslim to cooperate with such a magazine, to give exposure to such a magazine. Here, right now, in the masjid, not only is it inappropriate to say the name of the masjid, I mean, we can't say any and everything, even though it's the truth. The first Shahida in Islam was the wife of Yasir, the mother of Ammar, radiyallahu anhu, and the way they killed her is not something you can mention in the masjid, especially when we have youngsters here. Can't be so definitive in describing the horrific way that the way they murdered her, although it's the truth. So similar to that, how is it possible for the Muslim to debate and discuss, is it permissible for your sister, your wife, my sister, my wife, your mother, your auntie, to go to receive an award from such a magazine. Isa ibn Maryam, he comes back, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. When he comes back, if they wanted to conduct an interview with him, as being the Nabi and the Rasul, and he came with the haqq, and you think he would go and sit down and have a discussion of dawah with the people in that magazine, hoping that other people would read the magazine to see what he had to say? Something that is not fathomable, something that's not possible. But it's up for discussion. So 70% of those youngsters said it is something that's a good idea. Now I must make this point very clear, and it's a general rule that I think you brothers should remember anytime you're dealing with polls, no matter what the poll is, who's winning this presidency or the race, who's winning this and that. Polls are always subjective. People who conduct the polls, they get from the people answers that they want, for the most part. Always subjective. Never take any result from polls as being the revelation from the Senate, because they're subjective. The one who is educated is going to answer different from the one who is not educated. The rich will answer different from the one who's not rich. There are different variables that always have to be weighed into the equation. Young people think a certain way. Older people think a different way. People in the West think different from the people in the South. Europeans, Africans, and on and on and on. So we know that the poll is subjective, but it's one of those credible polls. If you want to go check it out, it's the group that call themselves the Gallup poll, G-A-L-L-O-P. So they're a credible polling system. Not always something we could take as being revelation, but nonetheless, they're credible. Another issue that was put on the table, amazingly, is the issue of the Muslim girl from America who was in the Olympics fencing. Another issue about the hijab. She wasn't wearing the correct khimar, the correct hijab. She had something on her head, and she had a judo or a fencing uniform, and she was the first Muslim from America who was representing America in the Olympics with hijab. It was a big deal. But what kind of hijab is that? When these things are pushed and they're constantly pushed and they're constantly pushed, that becomes the norm for the hijab. And the one who dresses correctly is going to be the one who's looked at as being an extremist. So those kids were asked, 1,000 Muslim kids, what is your opinion concerning her participation and whether or not it's a good thing that a lady with hijab, Muslim lady, she won a bronze medal in the Olympics? 72% of our Muslim shabab said this is a good thing, this is a dawah effort, it's showing that Muslims are moving into all of the circles and spheres of the society. Where is the fiqh in that issue? Like, where is the fiqh of our community and our understanding? Don't get me wrong. That lady, I personally know her family. She comes from the area where I come from. I don't know her, but I know her family. And those du'at in America who have to address this issue and deal with this issue, being that our community, when you're giving dawah to our community, to the normal community of Muslims, if you're not doing games, gimmicks, fun, Islamic hip-hop, Islamic education, if you're not giving food, then when you come with the truth, you're going to be in a position where people are really not going to like you. This is just how it is. So I'm not one of those individuals who say, let's be rough and tough about everything, but I say we shouldn't bend the rules. Now those two examples, I can see people not understanding their religion and using their mind to come to the conclusion why they would say what they said. But the third example is ridiculous. The third issue, 1,000 educated Muslims being asked a question. The Yahud and the Nasara, the Jews and Christians, when they die, do they go to paradise or do they go to the hellfire? I didn't think in 1,437 years after the Hijrah, 2016, in the Gregorian calendar, that there would be Muslims who would be in any doubt as to the reality of that issue. 67% of those kids said that the Jews and the Christians are going to go to Jannah. 67%. That the Jews and the Christians are going to go to the Jannah. And not only that, so as to prove that these kids knew something of their religion and they just were not taken off of the street, they asked them sometimes to prove, why do you say that? And some of them use dalil from the Quran. Like the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئِينَ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. An ayah of the Quran supported that the Yahud and the Nasara are in the Jannah. Verily, those people who believe, they believe in Allah, those people who believe, and the Jews and the Christians and the Sabi'in. Those people believe in Allah on the last day and they do righteous works. Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to get their reward from their Lord, and they won't be afraid and they won't be sad. So Allah clearly stated in this ayat, the people who believe from this ummah, the Jews and the Christians, if they believe in Allah the last day to do good deeds, they're going to go to Jannah. I can see how someone may misunderstand that ayat. I think that's one of those ayats of the Quran that if a person is not used to going to the Quran and he just wanted to give the tafsir based upon what he sees, face value, I can see how someone may make that mistake. But I think if a person is praying every day, he has basic knowledge of al-Islam, he's also saying, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim wa ad-dhalin. I mean, that's an ayat, that's an everyday ayat. And I don't think anyone sitting here, I don't think, Allahu A'lam, anyone with his aql, I don't care what level of knowledge he has or what level of commitment he has in the religion, I think everybody here knows that this ayat is talking about the Jews and the Christians. Sirat al-Mustaqim is the way we're asking Allah to guide us, unlike the way of those that Allah is angry with, the Jews and those that are astray. I think everybody knows that. But this basic piece of information is not understood by 67% of our community, the Shabab from our community studying in universities like that. It's not complicated. And the month of Ramadan, this one that just passed, we fasted 18 and a half hours. I fasted those days, you guys fasted those days, 30 days of the month of Ramadan. And although we made it through it, it took some effort. It's one of the best Ramadans in my opinion, but it took some effort. This Hajj that just finished. Many of us performed Hajj, and we walked all over the place, and we went through all kinds of struggles. And the Muslim, he's under the understanding that he fasts the month of Ramadan, and he goes to Hajj, and he walks all over the place, he dies, he goes to Jannah. The Yahud and the Nasara in the month of Ramadan was partying, drinking khamr, gambling, not praying, doing whatever he wanted to do. He dies and he goes to Jannah as well. And if you were to ask the non-Muslim, the Yahud or the Nasara, what about you people? What do you think? 1,000 students from Christianity who are studying in universities. What do you think is going to happen to the Muslims? They're going to say, Muslims are going to go to the hellfire, all of them. Because they didn't take Jesus Christ as his son and all that stuff. A large majority of those Christians who know their religion, practice, and you know they're nominal, they're going to say that. The Yahud, probably 195, 98% of them are going to say, ask that question. What's going to happen to the Christians, to the Muslims? They say they're going to go to the hellfire. And the Muslims, we don't know that the Yahud and the Nasara, or anyone who doesn't believe in Allah, in Al-Islam, that individual is going to be perpetually forever in the knot of Jahannam, the most important cornerstone of Al-Islam. Because we're talking about why we were created. The most important cornerstone and point of Islam, the issue of Tawheed. The Muslim, he doesn't know that. And this thing of modernity and liberalism is creeping up in the ranks of Al-Islam. And I'm talking about, Ikhwani, not just with people who don't practice from this religion. I'm talking about people who practice. As those scholars of the past used to say, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and other than that, the people of the Sunnah are the closest people on the truth. Generally speaking, the understanding of Islam is better than everyone else's understanding of Islam. The people of the Sunnah, It's not saying that they're perfect, and that's not saying that they all want to be in the Jannah without going to the hellfire. I didn't say that. But the people of the Sunnah, they know the religion better than other people. You look at the people of the Sunnah today and the understanding, you have two extremes, people of the Sunnah. One extreme are the really rough and tough judgmental people who are just relying on rhetoric and kalam. That's the Sunnah today. Rhetoric and kalam. Not always, but generally speaking, the people of the Sunnah being the best of the people. You have some who have gone extreme in understanding what the Sunnah is and how to apply it. And then on the other extreme, people of the Sunnah to them is, again, as I mentioned, gimmicks, playing games, joking around. Dawah is just messing around, messing about. Just entertainment. This is the condition of our ummah today. And it is as the Prophet has described, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the time, for the most part, the time of sleeping. I remember a few years ago, and I'm not one of those people who like to live in the past, but a few years ago, there was a lot of activity in many of the masajid of the people of the Sunnah, especially as it relates to just normally attending to get knowledge. And now there seems to be a slumber. The Prophet mentioned that as well. إِنَّ لِكُلِّ عَمَلٍ شَرَّةٍ وَإِنَّ لِكُلِّ شَرَّةٍ فَتْرَةٍ فَمَنْ كَانَ فَتْرَتُهُ لَلسُّنَّةِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَى. Every single action, everything that you do, every activity, it has its time of being active and excited, and has its time of being inactive and not being excited. So whoever, when he becomes inactive, his inactive natures towards my sunnah will be guided. So a long time there was a lot of activity. I don't think there's as much activity today as far as knowledge and so forth and so on, how our communities were in the past. But the point is, something needs to be done because our children, our communities, al-Islam is under threat. I mentioned in this masjid a number of times the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that al-Islam is going to fade away. Our religion is going to fade away. And the people of Islam are not going to know al-Islam. When we used to mention that hadith, we were thinking basically about those Muslims who say Prophet Muhammad is Hazir, Nazir, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never died, he had the ilm al-ghayb. You know, the people of Khurafat in this country, where we come from. The crazy things that people believe about al-Islam. But now, normal Islam is under threat. And these things that are going on in the political sphere, these things that are going on in popular culture, they're happening every day on a daily basis. And if we don't take stock of this situation, before we know it, our kids, these kids, 5, 10 years from now, inshallah, the complexion of al-Islam is going to be different. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, and I say this because it's something that I believe. In the dunya, I'm going to deal with the non-Muslims as non-Muslims. I won't give them salams. I won't eat their food. I won't marry them. I won't allow them to marry into my family. I'm going to deal with them with the ahkam of al-wala wa bara in the dunya. And what is apparent, they are non-Muslims, and if they die, I won't inherit from them. They won't inherit from me. I'm going to treat them like kuffar, the ahkam of al-Islam. But although I say that, Yawmul Qiyamah, I don't know what Allah is going to do with those people. I don't know what Allah is going to do with those people because many of those people have not been given an opportunity to learn and to witness real Islam. When they look at us, they are getting different interpretations of al-Islam. These over here Salafi, these over here Salafi jihadis, and they're killing everybody. And these over here, they're liberal, and those ones over here, they worship other than Allah. And those over here, they're hitting themselves and beating themselves on Ashura, and they're putting blood all over the place. And this one who I work with over here, he doesn't pray. That one over there, he prays on Friday. Now, the other one, he prays on the day of the Jummah. She wears hijab, but this one doesn't wear hijab. He shakes hands, she doesn't shake hands. This one drinks khamr. That one is the drug dealer. This one, and on and on and on and on. So these non-Muslims look at us and say, yeah, you people are different. You're Muslims, but I don't know your religion. And we know what has been established in the Kitab and the Sunnah, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He doesn't oppress His servants. He doesn't oppress His servants. And he doesn't punish people until the argument and the proof is established upon him. If the person did not hear the dalil or the proof and it wasn't put upon him, then Allah is Ghafoor and Allah is Rahim. Allah doesn't oppress people. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نُبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We never punish the people until we send to them a messenger. So I'm saying, the people of Al-Islam, where are we at and what are we doing as it relates to these issues? Another issue, and it's a big issue right now, topic of discussion, big Muslim organization here in this country. They are behind these modern issues, and they do nothing but chisel at our religion, the Sunnah. There was a time people were proud to be upon the Sunnah, to be different from other people. We're Muslims, but we have i'tizaz and we have honor, and that although we're Muslims, we're not just the regular Muslims, without making tazkiyah and all that stuff, but we are proud to know the way of Islam is not the way of our forefathers, and taqleed and a'ma, blind following of this and that one. The religion is what Allah said and what His Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We were proud to be that. Now, with all the confusion amongst Salafi people, many of them stop practicing Islam. Salafi people, many of them hate each other, and they're actually on the same thing for the most part in what they believe. And I don't have to explain that to you people. I mean, this is one of the Salafi messages that's looked at as being not Salafi. And people here know, between you and Allah, I'm trying to be Salafi. But there are other Salafi people who swear to Allah, and they get close to Allah in their religion, that you're not Salafi. This is the situation today. Like someone coming to me, telling me I'm not a Muslim. I'm trying to be a Muslim. Am I a perfect specimen of the Muslim? I don't make any mistakes. Someone came to me, big judge, a rich man, a lot of people. They all came to me and said, you're not a Muslim. And that's supposed to affect me that you said that about me. You passed that ruling on me. And I know Wallahi, between me and Allah, I'm a Muslim. But he swears I'm not a Muslim. What's the benefit? So this thing that went on, and that's going on, the issue of the khitan in Al-Islam. It's the khitan this year. Next year is going to be slaughtering for the Eid, where they'll stop us from slaughtering for the Eid, little by little, while we are asleep. Some of these Muslim leaders said that the khitan is cruel to the kid. It's cruelty to the kid, because he has to bleed and he has to suffer, and these are ancient rituals that were done a long time ago. With the advancement of science and medicine, these things are not necessary anymore. And even that's not true. But because they put it out there, and this war on normal Islam, it was given a lot of support and a lot of coverage, and is gaining ground that they're going to now, if the mother or the father or someone who's credible connected to the child doesn't want the child to have a khitan, a circumcision, then by law, the child doesn't have to have a circumcision. Where, amongst the ulama of Al-Islam, there's unanimous consensus, ijma' of the scholars of Islam, that the khitan for the baby boy is something that is wajib. It's not like mustahab. Some people say like the beard. Some people say, the beard, you can shave the beard. You can shave the beard. There are some credible scholars, past and present, who took that position. I don't agree with that position, but whenever we find that there's there's some ikhtilaf, we can accept that. I know there are some scholars who say that. But none of the scholars of the past were in doubt as it relates to the khitan of the boy. They said it's wajib. And the khitan of the girl is the sunnah, and some of them say it's wajib for her. As for the khitan being the sunnah, it's only mustahab. Then, ikhwani, here is the issue. How is the Muslim going to describe something that the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as being cruel? If I were to pick your brain right now and challenge any of you right now, just for the sake of not being the devil's advocate, a'udhu billah, but just come up with an example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ever doing anything that was cruel? Just one thing. It's like that lie. And as they say, you say the same lie over and over again. You say it enough, people start believing it. Al-Islam spread by the sword. Meaning what? Meaning what? That the Prophet just went and was killing people, forcing them to come into Islam? That's the meaning that they intend. But where's one dalil of that? One proof. Just one. Something that's remotely close to that. Just one. Then ask for two. Just one. That Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just killed someone and compelled him to come into Islam. أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ? Ya Muhammad, are you going to force the people to become Muslims? That question is a question of inkar. A question that says you can't do that. Like you said to someone, did you really do that? You're not really asking him to answer that he did it. You're making inkar. Did you actually do that? Allah is asking the Prophet that, Su'al inkari. Are you going to compel the people to become Muslims, Ya Muhammad? La ikraha fi deen. You can't compel anyone to religion. Man is married, Muslim man is married to a Christian girl, a Jewish girl. That Muslim man can be married to that lady. I don't advise that. I don't condone it. I don't encourage it. But the reality is, he can marry that Christian lady provided she's not a zaniya, and she still drinks khamr, she still does Christmas, she still does Easter, and she eats khanzir. Is it in his best interest? I don't think that's in his best interest. But the shart that was given in the Quran is that she can't be like a zaniya. You can't have her like a lewd woman. A lewd woman. Islam doesn't allow him, and this is the shahid. You force her to become a Muslim. Prophet Muhammad didn't force anybody to become a Muslim, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he didn't bring anything that was cruel in his religion. He was described, as you all know. And I'm speaking, ikhwani, to the mentality of the Muslim who actually can sit for a minute and not know. It's not permissible for you to even think Prophet Muhammad like that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Something's wrong with your Islam. It's like he told the people, don't any of you sit back reclining and you have a full belly on your couch. You're reclining on your couch with a full belly. Shaitan comes and starts to play with his head, and Shaitan starts to make him think about things that he shouldn't think about. Playing with his head. Who created this? Who created this? Who created that? Who created that? He said Allah, 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 until finally Shaitan, his mind, Shaitan says to him, well, who created Allah? Prophet Muhammad said, if any of this happens to any of you, Shaitan comes, plays with you like that, just say, I believe in Allah and I believe in Al-Islam. I believe in Muhammad as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are things that the Muslim can't allow himself to think. If he thinks that way, something's wrong with his Islam. Prophet was sent sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a rahmah to the people. And you're saying he was sent being cruel. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةٍ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So when we talk about why we were created to practice this religion, to hold on to this religion, to spread this religion, and to learn this religion and to pass it on to the next generation, those people who are with us. The way things are going right now, ikhwani, on our watch, Al-Islam is being chiseled away under our very eyes. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Al-Islam is going to fade away the same way that the embroidery of the stove fades away, to the point where the Muslims are not going to know what is salat, what is zakat, what is sawm, and what is hajj. Again, when we read that hadith, we look at that as being far off, down, close to Yawm al-Qiyamah. That is right now, right now. Prophet Muhammad is cruel to the child. Allah described the Nabi in many ayahs of the Quran, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, how his relationship is with us, the baby kid included. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. There has come to you a Rasul from your own selves. It distresses him. Anything that may befall you people that's negative and it hurts you, it distresses him that would happen to you. He is ardently looking after you. Haris, always looking for your best interest. And then the Quran described him as Ra'uf Rahim. And that person, these people are saying, the Prophet brought a religion that has some cruelty in it. What kind of Muslim are you? And who buys into that stuff? The Quran itself. نُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We revealed this Quran. In this Quran is a shifa, and it is, again, a rahmah for the people. You know, and Imam Ibn Qayyim, he wrote the book, At-Tib al-Nabawi, the prophetic medicines. In that book, there is a chapter about the benefit of the circumcision. Look at his craziness. Look at the confusion that we're living in right now. You know the beard, African American hip hop people in America, where hip hop culture emanates from. Many of them have full beards, and they're not Muslims. They're not Muslims. And many of them wear jeans, and their jeans are above their ankle bones. So when they started doing that, the Muslim Shabab in the Middle East and across the globe, they start doing it. Not because that's what's wajib and what the Prophet called to, and that's his sunnah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but now because kuffar do it, so now it's something that is okay. When the Prophet says it, it's not okay. But if non-Muslims do it, they give the stamp of approval. Similar to this issue as well. Similar to the confusion. If the non-Muslim came and the medical people, as they have come, they said that there's some benefit in this circumcision, and the benefit of the circumcision are many, 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 many. If the Muslim reads that, then he takes it on board and he buys into it, because non-Muslims said it. People taken outside of Islam, Muslims who should be in Islam. Muslims take outside of Islam, Muslims who should be inside of Islam, by making takfir. When we don't agree with people, we put people who belong in the religion out of the religion. And then 67% of our youth who study in the universities, they put inside of Islam people who don't belong in the religion. Confusion. We're living in confused times, and the one who is saved is the one who has basic knowledge of his religion. The more knowledge he has about his religion, the easier it becomes to navigate through all of the drama. Doesn't mean that it's not difficult. I said it's easier. It's easier because we have children, and getting them on board with what they need to be understanding, what they need to be doing is not always easy. That in itself is a big challenge. So the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslim has to understand everything about the Nabi of Islam is that which in it is rahmah and khayr. That Quran, his sunnah. Ali ibn Abi Talib was sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and someone brought him a cluster of tamar or dates. He started eating the dates. When Ali saw him eating the dates, naturally Ali is going to eat the dates as well. Prophet Muhammad told him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you just got over a sickness, and these dates are going to be a problem for you in your stomach. Don't eat them. That's an example of how the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to help us and not to harm us. With the barakah of the dates, but with his knowledge that the dates are going to harm him, he said, don't eat the dates. He didn't say it. The sunnah doesn't say, take that thing and do that thing which is going to compromise your life, compromise your health. So not to mention something in the religion of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is an issue that is cruel to people. The command of the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wal rasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum, answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call you to that which will give you life. That's the way the Muslim looks at the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, looks at the religion. So right now, the point, the message, and the reminder that I wanted to bring to you brothers here today, we don't agree with the people who over-politicize a dawah and at the expense of educating the community. Everything is about politics, and it's about those politics that are not even just Islamic politics. This is what people are thinking and They're coming up with conclusions and they're addressing those issues. But the real contemporary issues that are on the table, they are the issues that we need to be focusing on and keeping our eye on and keeping our attention on these issues, because, as I mentioned, doing our watching, doing our time, the religion of Islam is slowly but surely eroding away. It's eroding away by the efforts of people, and it's also eroded away by just not being done as a result of neglect. The reason why we never ever forget Surah Al-Fatiha. No one here makes a mistake when reading Surah Al-Fatiha after memorizing it. That's because we use it all the time. You use the thing, you do the thing, then it's going to stay with you. Whatever you memorize of the Quran, inshallah, it's going to stay with you. The more you do that thing, whatever it is, the less that you do it, the more apt that thing is going to be lost, abandoned, forgotten about, and so forth and so on. Like the issue of Ad-Dajjal. From the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah is that Ad-Dajjal won't be mentioned on the minbars of the Muslims, although he's the biggest fitna that Muslims need to know about. He's the biggest fitna. Like the trials and tribulations, and what I'm telling you about is a big fitna. But the Dajjal is a bigger fitna, and yet he's not mentioned. So as a result of not being mentioned, people forget about it. And then when he finally comes, he's going to come at a time when his effect and his impact is going to be more, because he was forgotten about. Like now. And that's just one of the many examples. The Salaf used to sit down and used to take time out to discuss about the ahkam and descriptions of the Dajjal, because it's part of the religion. An individual knowing his aqeedah and knowing the aqeedah of Islam, he's the one who will be saved bi'idhnillah from the fitna of the Dajjal. When's the last time the person who claims that he's on the Sunnah, he's from the Sunnah, when was the last time that he sat and he talked to his family about the Dajjal? When did that happen? When was the last time? He has to ask himself. When was the last time? And that used to be a big issue with the people before us. And you know, I think everybody here knows the importance of Aqeedah. I think everybody knows that. But it's the Aqeedah of the Muslim that is going to put him in a position to be saved in terms of where is he going to end up, as well as not being taken off of the mark. These trials and tribulations and these winds of adversity, when they blow, if a person is grounded in his religion, he has the ability again to deal with the issue. If he's not grounded in his religion, then there are those problems. So what I want to do, Ikhwani, is I want to apologize to you guys for what happened after Salat al-Maghrib. We were supposed to be here, and I know that there are some people who came from St. Albans, who came from some distance away, and many of you are waiting until Salat al-Isha, although you didn't expect that. So we're going to conclude here with this reminder, just reminding you, brothers, that actions speak louder than words. We have to get back to the way of just the normal, easy Islam. Islam that the Prophet brought, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we have to get on top of the issue of our families and these responsibilities of educating and looking after and being on top of ourselves and our families in this regard. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He gives the tawfiq to whoever He chooses to give the tawfiq to. If you guys got any questions, we'll answer only a few questions. We got to get out of here, inshallah. Fadl ya akhi Nurul Islam.
The many attacks on Islam and how it's affecting our youth and how it's affecting our community, and obviously surely it's having an effect. I mean, I'm not sure what else can be done other than building a masjid or building a school. I mean, we're limited to do. What would you advise to the youth and to the people of Hell? What can they do?
Certainly the Islamophobia that's going on, we should not think that Islamophobia is something that is a new phenomenon. It just started just now. Islamophobia started during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The false propaganda started during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people, for some reason, believe that there's a new phenomenon. The Islam of Usamah ibn Ufal is a great indication of that. The things that people were saying, the false things that they were saying about the Nabi, if a person was interested in embracing Islam, the things that they would say to you, what they were putting out in the community. So the kuffar would think this is a religion of a madman and a religion that doesn't benefit the individual of the community. So the Prophet dealt with all of that. So what do? We follow the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's not a generic answer. In practicing al-Islam, the everyday do's and don'ts of al-Islam, it guarantees Allah's favor, it guarantees Allah's protection. Practicing Islam. How in the world are we going to make jihad? How in the world are we going to stand up against in opposition to the enemies who want back Islam? How in the world are we going to fight and wage war on all of those different pragmatic levels if within our own application of al-Islam there are problems? And in our application of Islam there are problems. This majlis, this assembly right now, if we were to be truthful and honest about our own selves, just what we're up to. Some people struggle with Salatul Fajr. Some people struggle with the 5 prayers. He's not praying 5 times a day. Some people are doing different kinds of major sins that I'm not going to get into that by naming them because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm putting the majlis down, the assembly down. Just everybody look at himself. So those ayahs of the Quran, in tansurullah, yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. If you people help Allah, Allah help you and He'll establish your feet firmly. I think the last class we did before the one we missed was about how do we get izzah according to the Quran and the Sunnah. We dealt with that stuff. But on a practical level, pragmatic level, that's the practical level. Practice your religion. Allah promised to give the Muslims victory. But on a pragmatic level, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam engaged the community that he was dealing with. And he dispelled the myths. And he showed what his reality was in the way that he behaved with them. The way he used to get power over people, and he would let them go. The way that his dawah was, his physical dawah, and his example. Not to mention the things that he said, how he was with the non-Muslims. And then as he grew and grew and grew, because they were practicing their religion, and they grew and grew in strength, now he was physically able to put those people in their place, when they deserved to be placed, when they deserved to be in the first place. So right here in the UK, I do believe we have to have some people who have the expertise in dealing with the media. We have to have some people who have the expertise in dealing with politics. This religion is not like Christianity or other religion, a separation between the church or the state, separation between the masjid and the reality, politics. It's not a religion. And that's why, I think we need a little bit of maturity, because there are some people in this country who know what they're doing politically and they're trying to be, they're religious people. They have some issues, problems. We don't totally support them in everything that they do. But whenever the media says something that's disparaging about Islam or people, those people come to the table and they're suing the media. So instead of refuting these people the way we refute them, we have to just understand, I believe, just have a little bit more responsibility and maturity in dealing with those realities. Our community, we may not know a lot about politics. We may not have positions in the media, but there are people who do that. So if we're blasting everybody and we're living on an island by ourselves, it just cripples our ability to be more effective. And Allah knows best. Hey, you guys have any more questions?
Regarding the poll that was taken in universities and whatever, if somebody approaches a student in the university, should you say to the daughter or the son or whatever, don't take part in that poll?
Now, I wouldn't necessarily say don't take part in the poll. I think that one of the basic things of the religion is that people should not talk when they don't know what they're talking about. So if we were cultivated on that, then it would be simple. So when it comes to a kid and he wants to ask him questions about the religion. When the kid doesn't know something, he'll just say, Allahu alam. He won't say yes, he won't say no. But this popular culture that we're living in, this is the culture where everybody has an opinion. So on Facebook and social media, everybody has an opinion. And everybody is free to have the opinion. And it's nasty. I mean, you see Muslims themselves talking about issues, commenting, and just look at the language that they use between each other over an issue that they disagree about. Filthy language. It's how it is. So I don't want to say that they shouldn't, I don't want to say that they shouldn't participate. I just think people should talk about what they know about and refrain from what they don't know about. But this is one of the challenges, Akhi, that we're living in a time where everybody has an opinion. Some of the most ignorant people can opinion in this religion. Ignorant. People make takfir, people say this is jihad, people say this is mubtadi, people say this is a kafir, people say this is darul harb, people say this is halal, people say this is haram. We got this guy over here telling us it's haram. Anybody who has insurance, Allah has car insurance. Allah has waged war against you because this is riba. We say, hey, car insurance is haram. It's haram. But if you don't have it, you're going to get in trouble. So therefore, you get it out of necessity, you get the least amount of car insurance. Because the rahmah of Allah, the ease of Al-Islam, is when someone is compelled to do something, Allah allowed that thing to be done moderately and for a period of time until ease is given to him. So he's giving us fatwas. Drive around without car insurance. No, everybody just should talk about what he knows about. Don't talk about what you don't know about. Any more questions, Ikhwani? Shaheed.
My question is basically that because of this environment we live in, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions on Islam, and the practice of Islam is not what the Quran and the Sunnah is teaching us, the people who try to follow Islam correctly are put in situations where the non-Muslims are exposed to them, and they try and insert themselves to show these non-Muslims this is truly what Islam is. My question is, how does one, or is there any tips for that person who's doing that to have the right niyyah and intention? Because sometimes it could be like going overboard to show these people this is how we should be, and it causes bad intention.
No doubt we have to be in constant struggles to exist between the wing of hope and the other wing of fear. We got to be in constant battle with that. We have to know and ask Allah for guidance and tawfiq to have the strength and the courage to move forward and put our feet forward at the right time. Because a person may be practicing and he's on the truth, and he should be the one who's talking and giving dawah and making something clear at that particular time, but due to fear or this struggle of not wanting to appear, like wanting to have ikhlas and motivate himself on ikhlas, and as a result of ikhlas, he doesn't get involved in something he should be getting involved in. Traveling in this masjid, we don't even have to go that far. In this masjid, there are always things that are being done by people in this masjid where a person can give advice. Always. But I was going to mention traveling because at Hajj, traveling to Hajj and the people of the Sunnah, mixing with a lot of people not from the Sunnah, there are so many opportunities to give dawah to these people about so many things. And it could be simple things like, you should point your finger like that. You should put your heels like this. You shouldn't do, so many opportunities. But you'll find, due to this thing about my niyyah, should I say something? Should I not? Yeah, you should say something and look at it. You know what you're talking about? Then you should say something. You should be proud to be a person who's trying to spread the sunnah. It's going to be your reward. That's how you have to look at it. But obviously, you have to not overwhelm the people. You have to be careful of that other extreme and that sickness that we see with many of the people. Many of the people who choose to talk, they're rough and tough, nasty, belligerent, judgmental. Some of the things that you see, Ikhwani, concerning the people of Dawah, like this issue of hijab. The Muslim lady on the Facebook, she doesn't know much about Islam. One of those leaders of ISIS was killed a few weeks ago. You know, he had a beard, he had their hair. She doesn't know much about these dynamics. She just saw the thing that he was killed. She doesn't know what group he's with. She, I guess, just liked the look. So she said, may Allah have mercy upon him. She doesn't support ISIS. She doesn't know the guy. But she has this thing about, you know, jihad, this nice thing, you know, this is a brother. He was killed defending the religion. She doesn't know anything about ISIS. And the people attacked her. You love the Khawarij. You're from the Khawarij. You a Kharij. She said, hey, I didn't know this stuff. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I don't support him now. I don't support ISIS. I made a mistake. They said, no, you have to make Tawbah publicly and you have to... Until finally, they kicked off of the thing. That's how some people deal with that. That's the other extreme. The extreme of you're not giving dawah, you're beating the people up. And that's what the Prophet told us, don't do. Bashiru wa la tunafiru, wa yassiru wa la tu'assiru. Give the people glad tidings and don't run them away. And make things easy for the people and don't make them difficult. So I think it's not really a difficult issue. Any opportunity the Muslim gives to get dawah a lot, he takes advantage of advising people. He takes advantage without being shy. Don't allow knowing the truth. When you know the truth, don't allow a person, as the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا تمنعن أحدكم حيبة الرجل أن يقول الحق إذا علمه أو شاهده. Don't let any of you be prevented from saying the truth because you're afraid of people judging you or people's position. Don't be afraid to say the truth if you know it or if you witnessed it. It's going to come in your mizan, inshallah, yawm al-qiyamah. Tafadhal ya akhi, Shariq.
Places like workplace, obviously the way in which a man has to act with a woman has to be a lot more strict. If somebody's trying to show how Islam should really be and they have a Muslim that works with them, and that Muslim is more free in their interactions with the women, and the women get offended by the reservedness, how far can an individual go to acting between the opposite gender? Because obviously there's going to be men there and there's going to be women there. So the women are going to see you being friendly with the men, and the women are going to feel like they're completely cut off. How far can a person go?
So that brother's asking about us working with women and we're not their maharam. How far can a man go in just trying to have good social skills with them, not really meaning anything, but how much can you do? It's similar to the man. Abdullah ibn Safwan came to the Prophet ﷺ and Allah informed the Prophet of what the man wanted to ask before the man got there, so no one should say. He knew the ilm al-ghayb and he knew his heart. Jibril came and he used to inform him salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi about things, and then the person will come and the Prophet will know about it. So he came and the Nabi said to him, Jitta li tas'alni an al-bir. You came to ask me about righteousness. And you came to ask me about the sin. He said, "Al-itham ma haka fi sadaq, when after what al-itham ma haka fi sadrak, wa in after laka bihi nas." He said that the sin is that thing that is in your chest and is going back and forth. You're not comfortable with it, even if the people say this thing is okay. But that hadith is for the one who has a heart that is salim. He's a heart that's salim. He doesn't have hawa. He's a good person. So he himself knows laughing with a girl and hanging out with a girl and being the buddy of the girl. He knows that that's not permissible. How does he know that? How does he know it? If his wife was in the same position, he would be upset. If his wife was in the same position, he would be upset. And I go back to America in November, inshallah, visit my mother during the Kafir holiday called Thanksgiving, where they killed the American Indians and stole their land. And then they had the nerve to come and pretend that they're the moral compass for the world. And we listen to that and we believe that politically. We're always on the back foot, the defensive, apologizing. Muhammad married Aisha, she was young. No, it was his, it was a mistake in the number. She was older than that. We're always on the back foot. These people are in no position to be the moral compass for the world. They said during the last Eid here, article saying we're barbaric, killing those poor sheep. And these people are killing right now. African Americans right now, in America right now. They're being shot to death. If it wasn't for our lives, and then these smartphones, we wouldn't even see just the tip of the iceberg of this issue. You American citizen, you don't have your license, they shoot you. They're doing all kind of craziness, all kind of madness that is going on today. Anyway, Juan, as it relates to when I see my parents, my wife, your cousins can't touch you. No man can touch you. I don't care who it is, you better not touch. You grew up, they were like your brothers. No man better not touch you. No man. But then when I go over there to America, I got my cousins, I got those kuffar who I grew up with. When they come and they want to hug me and things like that, and then I do that, and then I look at my wife and she said, oh, why apples and oranges? Why apples and oranges? Why one ruling for me, the other ruling for you? Why? That's just an example. I don't do that. But if I was some of us have those double standards like that. Can't have double standards like that. How do you know that it's haram to be sitting down, eating lunch, and just kicking it with these ladies? Because if it was your wife or your sister, you would be upset about it. You wouldn't like it. You wouldn't like it. So I'm not one of those people who say we should be nasty and we should be antisociable and we should give a bad example and opinion of who we are, even to women in the workplace or who we study with. You could be the honorable guy. You could be the one that those women say, you know that brother right there, this is the guy who he's not trying to hit on me, he's courteous, he's articulate, he's clean, he gives a good example. He's a Muslim. He's a Muslim. So we stay within those confines. Consult your heart. Also, what none of you truly believes, you love your brother, but you love yourself. How would you feel if your wife was in that situation? The person said, well, I'm not married. Well, I'm not married, so it doesn't count. I'm excluded. I'm not married. No, you're not excluded. Think how would the Prophet of Islam deal with the situation? I heard some revert brothers, they don't know. Noon is second. He's telling me that weed is halal, and if the Prophet came back right now, he would smoke weed. How can you say that, man? But he's kind of a new Muslim, but I know he's just, kind of justifying smoking weed. He wants to justify it. But how can you say that? How can you say that? Who says that? Any more questions, Ikhwani? إذن نكتفي بهذا القدر ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى يوفقنا وإياكم. بارك الله فيكم وأحسن الله إليكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.